All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and begin our tech talk today on managing changes in Teamcenter, part 1. So make sure you register for part 2. All right, now your questions will be answered live at the end, but please go ahead and enter them into chat as they come up. Our presenter today is Ronak. He is in our Cincinnati office. He's a system engineer at Prolim, and he really focuses on crafting customized Teamcenter solutions for those unique business needs and making sure there's a very smooth integration with CAD tools in Teamcenter. So we are very excited to see what he is presenting today. Welcome, Ronak. The Tech Talk is now yours.
Hi everyone, welcome to our today's Tech Talk on managing changes in Teamcenter, part 1. Today we'll try to understand what is change management. We'll focus on the type of changes, the state and content of change. We'll see how you can define a change management process. We'll also see an example workflow process of a change. We'll go over the change participants, and then lastly we'll conclude with a live demo of a simple change. So what is a change? A change refers to any modification made to the product design, material, specification, manufacturing process, or a document after it has been initially released. Change management in Teamcenter is a structured approach used to identify, evaluate, approve, implement, and review changes to a product design. This process is essential for ensuring that changes are carried out in a controlled and organized manner. This reduces risk and minimizes the disruption of business operation or the product lifecycle. So in Teamcenter, changes are managed to support a continuous development of released product data. The change process typically involves defining objectives, such as identifying a problem or implementing an enhancement to the product design. Once the objective is defined or identified, then the tasks are assigned to users for impact analysis, solution development, and following approval steps to authorize and confirm the change. There are 3 main changes in Teamcenter. So there are 3 types of changes. So first, there's problem report, which is the one that identifies a problem. Then there's change request. This initiates a proposal that recommends a change and captures business decisions associated with the change. Users who are involved in the change process can review and confirm the problem and provide input into what business object must be updated to resolve the issue. Then lastly, we have the change notice. This is the type that actually implements the solution to product design. So first we have the problem report, where we identify the problem, which is implemented by a change request, and then the change request is implemented by change notice. And then you have the vice versa as well. So let's try to understand these types in details. So again, first we identify a problem. When a problem or an improvement is found, a problem report is created to start the process of updating a product design. A problem report describes the issue or improvement in detail. It includes enough information for understanding the problem, reproducing it if it's needed, or explaining the enhancement request. The report also shows how serious the issue is and how urgently it needs to be fixed and as compared to other reports. And then we have the change request. A change request proposes a solution to the problem, populates the impacted item, and performs the impact analysis with cost estimates and benefits of making the change. And then we have the change notice that implements the change request. So this is the change that actually implements the change notice. It gives permission to create solution items and outlines a detailed plan on how to resolve one or more change requests or a part of the request. So the change notice will list all the items and documents impacted by the change and authorize the steps needed to apply the solution. So once this change notice is completed, we will see the enhancement or the problem fixed and implemented in the product design. But we also have a deviation request in Teamcenter. This is a type of a change request that asks for permission to temporarily change a solution in production to fix a problem. There are generally two types of deviation requests. It could be a request for deviation or a request for waiver. So a request for deviation is when a user will ask for approval for temporarily changing a part or a solution. And request for waiver is the one where the user will ask for approval to accept a part that does not fully meet the required standards. So that's the difference between request for deviation and request for waiver. And lastly, we have a simple change. So this process is a very smaller, compact process. This process will involve identifying a problem or an issue and then making changes to resolve it. A simple change refers to a small or a minor adjustment that does not require a lot of resources or many people to implement. These changes are usually straightforward or involve fewer individuals. Our team is very small to carry out these tasks, and it makes it easier and quicker to manage these simple changes as compared to more complex changes that require problem report, change request, and a change notice. But in this case, it's a simple change. You can identify a problem within it and implement the solution with the same single process, simple change. So let's move on to the states of a change. A change has three main stages that show where it is in the process and what decisions have been made about it. So first we have the closure or the status. It could be open, closed, cancel, or hold. And then we have the maturity. It could be reviewing, elaborating, executing, or complex. So the status or the closure, this shows us the current state of the change. The maturity shows how far along the change process we are at in the change. And then we have the disposition. This is the decision made by a person or a group of person whether the change is approved or not. It could be none, or investigating, disapproved, deferred, or approved. So these stages are connected and depend on each other. For example, maturity is a substate of closure, and disposition is a substate of maturity. So these stages are set as a change moves through the process. To move a change to the next phase, like turning a problem report into a change request to find a solution, the stage must be correctly set. Let's move on to the contents of a change. When you have a change to process for a specific product design, there are items that need to be identified and tracked on a change object. These items could be problem items, impacted items, solution items, reference items, plan items, and their two relationships implemented by and implements. Let's go over these items one by one. So, the problem items. These items are the items that contain item revisions with the problem that the change will address. This could be the parent assembly, or a subassembly, or a specific part. Then we have the impacted items. This contains item revisions that are being changed as a result of the change process. Then we have the solution item. This contains the item revisions that are generated as a result of this change. For example, a new part is added to the new revision of the parent assembly. That new part will be the solution item. Then we have the reference items. This could be any document or item revision that are related to this change. It could be analysis documents, system logs, or any specification documents that are somehow related to this change. Next, we have the plan items. This is a plan or a schedule for this change. Next, we have the implemented by relation. This contains the change object revisions that are referenced by this change object. For example, a problem report is implemented by a change request, and change request is implemented by a change notice. So this will contain all that information. Next, we have the implements relation. This is a similar relation, but a little different from implemented by. For example, a change request implements a problem report. A change notice implements a change request. So this is vice versa than that of implemented by. Let us see how you can define your change management process. You can manage changes in a way that fits your company processes. You can set up a change process that is flexible enough to apply the right amount of control depending on the risk, cost, business areas affected by that change. First, we begin by identifying a problem or enhancement. The author or the requester creates a problem report identifying the problem or enhancement. The requester will provide all the preliminary assessment and show the necessary steps to reproduce the problem. Then second, we have the analyst. The analyst will go in the system and try to reproduce the problem that has been detailed by the requester. And then the third step is the change specialist and the analyst together will go through the PR. They will assign the priority to the PR and finally approve the PR. Once the PR is approved, the change specialist will go ahead and create a change request for it, and the analyst will provide solution or several solutions for this problem. Note that at this point there has been no decision made, and it has not been decided whether what new items or item revisions are required to address this problem. After this, the analyst identifies the items impacted by this change and then prepares the supporting document and prepares high-level proposal for the action required to implement this change. After this, the change specialist will submit this CR to the change review board, who will decide whether to go ahead with this change. The change review board can either approve, reject, or ask for more documentation or investigation on this change. If the change review board approves the CR, the change specialist will go ahead and create a change notice, and this change notice will be used to implement the change. After the change notice has been derived, the analyst prepares a detailed plan on how to implement the change. Looking at the implementation plan, the change implementation board approves the change, and then the analyst and the change contributors implement the change on the respected assembly, subassembly, or a part. After the changes have been implemented by the analyst and the change contributor, the change specialist can assign effectivity to the change notice. After all of this is done, the change specialist can go ahead and close the change. So this is how an organization can define the change management process. This process is not hard-coded. It can be adjusted to the company's need and workflow process. Let's move on to an example workflow process for simple change. A simple change does not require a problem report or a change request. You can simply identify the problem items, and in the elaborating stage you can implement a detailed plan on how to process this change, and in the contributing tasks you can actually implement all of those changes and then send it to approval for the release of that simple change. Let us take a look at change participants. So Teamcenter has already defined a couple of change participants that can be used in your change management process. They are the requesters, specialist, analyst, change review board, change implementation board. So the requester is the person who actually identifies the problem or the enhancement and submits a problem report. The requester may elaborate the problem, or the change specialist can delegate a responsible person who can elaborate the problem. If the change specialist delegates a different user for this purpose, then the requester will change to this new person. Then we have the specialist. The specialist facilitates and manages movement of the change through the appropriate process. The specialist is responsible for reviewing and approving the change object and determining if more planning is required or not. And then we have the analyst. The analyst assesses the technical feasibility of the change. The analyst provides a detailed plan of how to implement the change. And then we have the change review board. The change review board reviews, approves, and authorizes change request and deviation requests. And next we have the change implementation board. They also review whether a change notice is to be executed or cancelled. Let us take a look at a simple change in Teamcenter now. So I'm logged into Teamcenter as an analyst, and I have to add some grease to the fuel tank assembly. Let's first take a look at this assembly, and underneath the top level assembly I need to add a line item for grease. In order to capture this change, I will create a simple change for this. Both my problem and the solution will be implemented in just one simple change. So while creating this simple change, we can give it a description, synopsis, and also set it as an active change. So once I've created this change, it will be listed under the change tab, under the open tab. So this is an open change right now. So this is how the user interface looks for a simple change. Let's first try to understand the overview tab. So first we can see that what is the state of the simple change. Right now it's at elaborating stage. So we need to elaborate more about the problem right now and give as much information as we can about the problem. If I scroll further down, I can see the maturity. Again, it says elaborating and the closure is open. And down here I can see the participants who are going to be implementing and approving these changes. I can make changes to these participants, but we'll see that in a bit right now. First, let's edit this change and elaborate more about this change, what we're going to do in this, what's the problem and what we're going to do in this change. So we've identified that we'll be adding 0.25 kg of synthetic grease to the fuel tank assembly. So I'm adding it to the description here, and I'll save my edits. For example, if I wanted to add more information about this change, I can come to the elaborating task and I can add as many references I want under the references, all references section. This could be analysis logs or specification documents or any sort of references that are related to this change somehow. So let's go back to the change, and during this elaboration stage I'll also specify an approver for this change. So we have the approvers here listed as me, but I'll go ahead and replace this approver. For this, I'll select Alex, who's a change specialist, who's going to approve my changes. Now that I have provided all the information, elaborated the problem, I'll go ahead and complete this task. On completion, we can see that the workflow has moved forward to the contributing stage. This is the place where we will be implementing all those changes. And if I go over to the overview tab, I can see that the state has also changed over here to contributing, and we have the approver as Alex here since we changed it, and the maturity at contributing to. So let's go ahead and implement those changes. Since I have the active change set, any changes I make right now will be captured in that ECN. So first, I'm going to go ahead and revise this assembly since this revision is released. Let's add a child to it, and that will be the synthetic grease. And then I'll add it as a 0.25 kgs of it. So now we have the synthetic grease added to this fuel tank assembly, and the quantity is 0.25 kg. Going back to our change and looking at it, we'll see that all of the changes that we made, we added the fuel, we added the grease to this assembly. We can see that under the change summary, the simple change has captured this change. So we are adding 0.25 kgs of this synthetic grease to this assembly. Now that I've made all my changes, implemented the changes, and I can go ahead and complete this task. So now we'll see that it has gone, the state has changed from contributing to approving. At this point, our change specialist Alex will log in and approve the change that we just implemented right now. So let me quickly log in as Alex, and then we'll see the change on his screen. So Alex logs in, he sees a mail in his inbox, he comes to it and he sees that he has to approve some simple change here. Under the targets, I can find my simple change. I see everything looks good, and we can see that the grease has been added here, and Alex can go ahead and approve this change. So now let us take a look at the workflow. It has been completed successfully. The overview is now, we can see that the state has been released for this, as well as the closure is closed. So the change has been closed. If I open my assembly, I will see that the grease has been added to the assembly. So this is how we can use simple change for making small changes to our assembly that do not require a big group of people or big group of either analysts or approvers, change implementation board or change review board. So this is the easy and a quick way of making changes in Teamcenter. So let us see how we can see the changes for the specific revision. In the details section, we have the changes tab that'll give us information about all the changes this BOM revision has been either used as a solution item or a problem item. So for example, in this case, the revision A has been used as a solution item in the ECN in the simple change 007. Now we have the change genealogy section over here. What this will tell us is on how these specific components and through which simple change or ECNs were they added to this fuel tank assembly. So here it will list that through the ECN 007 it was added in the fuel tank assembly. For example, you had a BOM that has 100 line items underneath it, and you want to know how a specific line item was added to that BOM and through which ECN. So you could use the change genealogy to track trace back those changes. Now there's also the history tab over here. This tab will give you the revision history for this BOM, 401 BOM, all the revisions that will list out here, and then it'll give you the change history. This will give you all the ECNs or simple change that this BOM has been used in, and whether those simple changes or ECNs are closed or released and approved. So these are some of the tools that you can use in Teamcenter, and they're powerful tools to actually trace back and have accountability on all of those changes that have been made to this fuel tank assembly. Today we saw how we can elaborate and implement changes with simple changes in Teamcenter. This is not a hard-coded process. It can be adjusted and tweaked according to your company's requirement. The next Tech Talk I will be focusing on how to manage changes with the help of problem reports, change request, and change notice. So I hope I'll see everybody there again. With this, we will conclude our Tech Talk today. Thank you everybody for attending.